Greetings. My name is Brother Scott, and I believe that with faith, courage, and discipline, we will prevail. All right, so we're going to continue our series on building a dynasty. All right, and to recap, right, men, we no longer have purpose in our lives. Our purpose has been stripped away from us by society. So what I am saying is we have to invent a new purpose for ourselves. And that purpose is to pursue our callings and to build our dynasty. Our calling is a lifelong mission that we're passionate about that provides value to others. And a dynasty is a family with businesses, assets, and knowledge that can be passed down from generation to generation. Okay? So, in our last video, we talked about the first part of building a dynasty. And we talked about creating a plan to build a dynasty. And then we're going to move on next into our next portion, which is understanding female attraction. Understanding female attraction. So this is important when it comes to building a dynasty because many of us want someone to build a dynasty with. And before you can build a dynasty with your potential partner, well, you have to understand how to attract that partner or what makes a potential partner attracted to you. So this is going to be a very in-depth topic. So I'm going to actually have to divide this subject into 4 separate videos. Okay? We're going to divide it into 4 separate videos because I don't want the videos to run too long and then you lose, you stop paying attention and then you start missing stuff. You understand? All right? So this is when I would mentor. Before I started Underdogs United, I was a mentor. And I explained this before in my introduction video. For about 15 years, my time in the Marine Corps and, just when I'm out and about, when I would come back home, when I was on leave or when I was just out and about on the weekends or the weekdays, I was constantly mentoring guys on understanding female attraction, right? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all that knowledge, all those years, right, of knowledge and understanding of female attraction, and I'm gonna give it to you guys so that way you can attract that potential partner to build a dynasty with, okay? So this is gonna be the first of 4 videos as it pertains to understanding female attraction. All right, here we go. The first section, we're going to talk about the 4 primary attributes of female attraction. Now, there are 4 primary attributes that determine how attractive a man is to a woman. Those 4 primary attributes are physical appearance, financial security, social status, confidence. Now, these attributes are in order from least important to what's most important. You understand? And I'm going to explain why I put them in the positions they're in. And by the way, this is an imperfect model, okay? And I'll explain that a little bit later. But this is a model that I've created, and it's a really good explanation of why a woman would or would not be attracted to you. And so just take this imperfect model with a grain of salt, but it's really good and it works really well. Okay? Now, what women are attracted to is rooted in biology and anthropology. Okay? Women gravitate to these attributes on a subconscious level, okay? Today's video, we're gonna go specifically into physical appearance, all right? Remember, so that's what's the least important when it comes to attraction, as far as what women are attracted to, generally speaking, okay? So we're gonna talk about physical appearance. Next video, we're gonna talk about financial security. And next video, we're gonna talk about social status. And then in the last video, we'll talk about confidence. Now, before I continue, some of this stuff, some of you guys have a pretty good understanding of this already, but I'm going to lay it out and I'm going to explain it to you in layman terms, because what ends up happening is some information you may know might be accurate and then some may not. And so what may end up happening is you don't really understand female attraction. So you have this partial understanding, and when you go ask a woman out on a date, or you and your girl break up, whatever the case is, you don't have the full understanding why, okay? So today we're gonna talk about physical appearance, okay? Here we go. Now, physical attraction and a potential partner is not as important for women as it is for men. And I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna explain, okay? So I'm gonna read this paragraph. Physical attraction and a potential partner is not as important for women as it is for men. Before I explain what women are physically attracted to in a man, I will first explain what men are physically attracted to in a woman. This is going to help you better understand why women favor certain characteristics in a man. All right, so let me break that down, okay? So women don't care as much about physical attraction as we do. They do care. They care what you look like, but not nearly as much as how much we care about what they look like. You understand? And this is what I'm about to explain. I'm going to explain why we like certain characteristics. And that's gonna for the most part, that'll be you guys will pick up on that very quickly. That will make a lot of sense to you because it's what we're attracted to. You're gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. I can see that. But when I flip it, right? When I tell you why women like certain things, as far as physical attraction, if you're not attracted to a man, then you're not going to really understand it. So that's why I'm going to initially tell you why we are attracted to certain things in a woman, and then you'll be like, okay, now that I'm talking about what women are attracted to in a man, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so here we go. Our male ancestors valued physical indicators of health and fertility in a woman. Men subconsciously do a reproductive fitness assessment when they are examining a woman's physical appearance. During this reproductive fitness assessment, men are subconsciously determining if a woman is fit to have his children. So I made a list. Here's a list of some of the physical attributes that men value in women. Long, thick hair, which equates to good health, youth, and vitality. Facial symmetry, which equates to good health. White teeth, which equates to good health. Full lips, which equates to youthfulness. A 7:10 waist to hip ratio, right? So the reason why we value a 7:10, or roughly around that ratio, 7:10 waist to hip ratio, well, that is because that is the ratio that is ideal for childbearing. The hourglass look, you understand? Sometimes you'll see this in cartoons where attractive woman is on the screen, and the cartoon will greatly exaggerate that hourglass figure. You understand? But that's why we're attracted to it, because it's ideal for childbearing. You understand? All right, here we go. Round, firm breast. We all like some breast, yeah. But yeah, round, firm breast equates to fertility. Round buttocks, right? Signals the presence of estrogen and the presence of healthy, sufficient fat stores for pregnancy and lactation. Let me read that again. Y'all know I can't read. We prefer round buttocks because it signals the presence of estrogen and the presence of healthy, sufficient fat stores for pregnancy and lactation. All right? And then last one, smooth skin equates to youthfulness and a healthy diet. Right? This is back in the days of old, before it's civilization, before it's science, before any understanding of biology, right? We only had these indicators to go off of, you understand? And on a subconscious level, this is what those indicators would tell us. You understand? So that's pretty straightforward. That probably makes a lot of sense to you guys. Why? Oh, so that's why I like that hourglass figure. That's why we prefer longer or thick hair. That's why we prefer that hourglass figure. That's why we prefer full lips, so on and so on and so forth. And these are just a few examples. This isn't everything, right? I'm not a biologist or anything like that, but this is just a few of the things that I jotted down. Okay, now that we understand why we as men are attracted to certain attributes physically in a woman, I'm going to flip it. And we're going to talk about why women are attracted to certain attributes in a man. Okay, so when it comes to physical attraction, our female ancestors valued indicators of health, hunting ability, and fighting ability. A man with these attributes was ideal to ensure provision and protection of her and her children. Now, back in the days of old, before civilization, it was a lot more egalitarian as far as, how men were treated and how women were treated. But however, during the times of pregnancy, well, women were put in a very vulnerable state. Because remember, a pregnancy lasts approximately 9 months. So during that time period, you can be very vulnerable. You understand? So someone that has the ability to provide and protect, especially during that vulnerable time period, was an ideal man or ideal partner, rather. You understand? In addition to, and also men were about 15% larger as well. So here are some of the physical, all right, so here we go. Here are some of the physical attributes that women value in men. All right? Height, tall. Well, that equated to protection and safety. Facial symmetry equated to good health. White teeth, you're starting to see some similarities, right? White teeth equated to good health. A defined jawline, well, that equated to healthy levels of testosterone. Broad shoulders, healthy levels of testosterone. Chest to waist ratio, that V shape, right? That V. If you ever watch an old super, or actually it's even common now. But when Marvel and DC, when they would draw their male superheroes, they would make it a point to ensure that they all had that V shape, those broad shoulders, and that chest to waist ratio that made their upper torso look like a V, right? Healthy levels of testosterone. Flat stomach, right? Having a six-pack equates to good health. And then having an athletic build, right? Which equated to, of course, athletic ability. Now, so real quick, when I say athletic ability, I'm not saying that, someone that has to look like Superman or John Cena, you understand. But I mean exactly as I say, athletic ability, all right? Not power lifter or bodybuilder, all right? That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, this is what women are attracted to physically, and this is why they're attracted to these things, all right? This goes beyond before we even had society, okay? We were anatomically humans about 300,000 years ago, and we didn't start really understanding humans, we didn't really start understanding the concept of agriculture until about 10,000 BCE, roughly. You understand? Around that time period, right? So, yeah, that explains physical attraction. But, and real quick, before I leave, you have a limited amount of control over your physical appearance, okay? But you can improve on what you can with a healthy diet, routine exercise, and good hygiene. You understand? Now, before I leave, this is what I wanted to say before I leave. The good thing about this, let's say maybe you're not tall, maybe you don't have great athletic ability, you don't have broad shoulders, you don't have a defined jawline like Brother Scott, you understand? That's fine, okay? Like I said, improve on what you can. The good news is this. Remember in the beginning, I talked about the 4 primary attributes of attraction. Physical appearance is way at the bottom, all right? Relative to everything else, right? Women care more about financial security. And then above that, social status. And then above that, confidence. Okay, so don't beat yourself up. Don't get discouraged if you feel like, oh, I can't attract women because I don't look a certain way. I'm gonna tell you right. So I'm gonna go off the script for a little bit. I'm gonna tell you right now. Go look at some of these rappers. Go look at some of these celebrities. Look at some of these individuals. I'm not gonna say no names, but a lot of these guys don't look like runway models. They don't look like they're about to do a runway and model some damn clothes. Some of these guys are looking. I'll put it like this. Some of these guys are short. Some of these guys are bald, and there's nothing wrong with any of this stuff. I'm not dissing anybody. Some of these guys are short. Some of these guys are bald. Some of these guys are not conventionally attractive. But every time you turn around, they got 2 big booty, whatever. Latinas, 2 big booty, black girl, big booty, whatever. Very attractive women in their sphere. You understand? And from a physical perspective, you may be asking, how is he able to pull her? That doesn't make sense. This dude is ugly as hell. How? You understand? So yeah, look at some of these rappers, look at some of these celebrities, and that just it goes to prove my point. Physical appearance is important, but it is not as important as these other attributes that I'm going to mention. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video, and then in our next video, we're going to talk about financial security and how that plays into what women are attracted to. Okay? Now, if you haven't already, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and donate. And always remember, with faith, courage, and discipline, we will prevail.